Sometimes we feel like God has abandoned us. We feel alone. We feel forgotten about. But God, by definition, is the ultimate, is the infinite, is the eternal. Which means that God is everywhere, always. And if God is everywhere, always, that means God is right here, right now. And if God is always with you right here, right now, that means God can never be separated from you. You see, a lot of the times we're like little children playing on the playground of life. And God is around the perimeter, like our parents, just watching us play. And we are so focused on what is right in front of us, whether it's having fun or having problems or struggling. We forget that God is always there. And sometimes when we fall down and we get hurt, we cry out to God. But we cannot see God. Why is this? It's because those who look at the world do not see God, and those who look at God do not see the world. We get caught up in our personal problems, our daily life, our dreams and our goals, and the story of our life. And because everybody else does the exact same thing, we think it to be normal. We don't actually think anything of it. But you see, if you pay attention around you right now, if you listen, you will hear that there is a vast ocean of silence. No matter what is happening, there is an eternal silence around you at all times. But you and everybody else has been conditioned to focus only on the noise. And when we are focused on the noise, we do not hear the silence. Only when you travel out into nature, into the wilderness and the mountains and the forest, in the absence of all of this noise, is that underlying silence truly experienced. And yet the silence was present all the time. You see, God is found in the silence, in the stillness. That is why monks and spiritual people spend their whole lives trying to meditate and quiet their mind. Because through quieting the mind and finding this inner stillness, God speaks. But God speaks through whispers, in subtlety, and the noise of the world is loud. So too the noise of our monster mind is always barking and yelling, spouting nonsense, distracting us and keeping us away from what truly matters. You see, Christ said, "Seek first the kingdom of heaven, and everything else will be added on to you." But we forget about the kingdom of heaven and just strive for our worldly goals, thinking that they mean something more than they do. But we have to remember that we enter into this life with nothing, and we leave this life with nothing. All of the material objects and the temporary pleasures and everything in our life fades away. From dust it came, and to dust it will return. So we stress out so much about gathering these massive piles of dust. For what? Great kings and conquerors have waged war upon the earth to have bigger mountains of dust. They have killed and enslaved and tortured people for nothing. Because the more you're focused on worldliness, the more your attention is taken away from God, and the more you feel as though you are separated from God. But when you turn your mind toward God, toward the eternal, toward the infinite, what you find is that the temporary takes care of itself. We spend so much time stressing out about making life the way we want it to be. And we are caught in this illusion of this world, this construct, this matrix designed to enslave your energy, to enslave you and then use your energy, like a human juice box. They have you right nice hooked up to the IV, and every day, slowly, They are draining you of everything that matters and giving you nothing in return. They print trillions of dollars out of thin air, and yet you have to slave away, give the only two things that are of value, your time and your life. You give up everything of value and receive that which is not valuable at all. Money that has decreased in value since its conception. We have everything backwards. The more you remain stuck in this illusion, the more you get sucked into this godless reality. And it's normal to just want to live our life and have a relationship with God, but often we put God to the side, like God is an accessory to our life. Like God provides us with all the benefits and the luxuries of what we want. In a way, people forget to put God first. And think about how practical this is. The infinite has dominion over the temporary, but the temporary has no power over the infinite, over the limitless. The temporary has no power over the eternal, but the eternal has power over the temporary. You see, it's not about rejecting the world, and it's most certainly not about rejecting God. It's about putting things in their right place. And until we put things in the right place, we will not feel right. We will feel like something's off. You have to get your priorities straight. You see, the system that we live in is designed to keep you in fear, to put pressure on you so that you slave your life away. But this construct, this reality, is just an illusion. It's not real. It's only real because we believe it to be real. And we believe it to be real because everybody else believes it to be real. But when you travel the inner journey, you will begin to see how unreal it all is. You see, this illusion is the illusion of separation. In fact, the truth is that we are all one, which means, as I said, God is everywhere always, which means that God is in the lowest hell and God is in the highest heaven. Not even the loneliest leaf on the loneliest tree on the loneliest forest in the world, not even this leaf falls without the awareness of God. But when you do not see God clearly, you take things personal. You think that other people can do things to you. You think that somebody can offend you or betray you or say something mean to you. But all things are expressions of God. Every experience that you have is God communicating to you something. In fact, there is no separation between your inner world and the outer world that you experience, which means that everything is a reflection of you. But so long as you are attached to the person you believe yourself to be, you will remain trapped in this illusion. And instead of receiving the messages, instead of learning the lessons that your experiences are trying to teach you, you will more than likely wallow in suffering and in pain, saying, "Why me?" And you will judge yourself and you will judge the world and you will become bitter. But in truth, everything that you experience is exactly what you need at this exact moment for your highest spiritual growth. But you see, the more that we resist life, the more we bring about problems that are too much to bear. God will never give you a problem that is too much for you. But the burdens that we place upon ourselves are often unbearable. You see, life can only be experienced in the present moment. And so the more we are separated from the present moment, the less we are truly living. This present moment is the doorway to God. And yet it is our mind that creates the sense of separation because it pulls us out of the present moment and causes us to worry about the past or have fears about the future. From this mind-identified place, we exist as an individual in a hostile world in which we have to struggle and fight to survive. So our very existence is rooted in fear. And that is the game that most people are playing. But this game, in my estimation, is outdated. We have been playing it for hundreds of millions of years. And so I say it is time to start playing a new game. One that is not rooted in fear, but is rooted in love. You see, because when we build the foundation of our life on the changing, when the storms of life come, it washes us away. We have no strong or firmly rooted foundation. But God is that unchanging one. And so when we build the foundation of our life on that which is unchanging, no matter what happens in our experience, we will always be safe. And so there is no purpose anymore for fear or worry or shame or guilt or regret or any of these negative things that most people struggle with all the time. There is no purpose for judgment, not judging yourself nor judging anybody else. Because when you judge others, you are also judging God. Even in the most egotistical person, God is still working through them. Even through the scariest demons, God has them on a leash, and they cannot act freely without also serving God's purpose. The question is, where do you allow your attention to go? Do you allow your attention to focus on negativity, on worldliness, on illusion, on separation? Or do you orient your attention toward God, toward the light, toward the truth, toward the unity behind all things? You see, God will only feel separate from you so long as you are stuck in this illusion of separation. As I like to say, separation is synonymous with hell, and unity is synonymous with heaven. Separation from and union with God. But remember, God is already here with you. The question is, where is your position relative to this fact? The more you perceive yourself to be separate from God, the more closely you get to hell. And the more you recognize God's presence in your life already, the closer you get to heaven. And you see, all of the noise in your mind, all of your thoughts, all of your ideas, this is the noise that prevents you from experiencing the inner silence, this space in which God is found. But this space is always here. It is here right now. It is only awaiting your recognition. You see, one of the most important steps on this spiritual journey is to recognize this illusion of separation, to see through the illusion of the person you believe yourself to be, to see the false reality of the ego, that it in fact does not exist. Because when you close your eyes right now, try to find the person you believe yourself to be. This idea that we have of ourselves is a construct of memory and sense data. It is a construct of our mind that we believe in, and its only existence, the ego only exists because we believe it to exist. But right here, right now, if you look into yourself, you will find an inner spaciousness, no different than the space that you can sense around you. And within this inner spaciousness is a presence, what is often called the I am. It is the sensation that you exist. Once you recognize this truth, a kind of inner war begins to take place. And that is your ego, your sense of self as a person, begins to fall apart. But it fights for its life, pulling you back into the world, pulling you back away from God. But as you continue to remember your true self, your true place as this presence, you begin losing the strong sense of separation. You see, our sense of separation is fueled by our thoughts, our beliefs, our ideas. And all of these things, all of this mind noise, are like clouds that cover the sky. And these clouds block the light of the sun, the light of God. And that is why you feel separation from God. But God is always there. You simply have to cast aside the clouds. And you do so by continually resting as this presence, as this inner spaciousness. You get pulled into the world, and then you return back to presence. And this keeps you rooted in the present moment. And over time, you stop getting pulled into the world. And as you orient your attention toward God, the world disappears. And with the world, all of its demons, all of its illusions, all of its evil, too disappears. You see, your mind is like a garden, but it has been overrun with weeds and trees that bear bad fruit. And as you begin pruning all of these things that don't belong, when you return your mind to its natural state, you will find that you never left the Garden of Eden. That your default state is perfection. It is everlasting love. It is everlasting joy and peace. You return back home to unity with God. And once you embark on this journey, you find that all of these things of the world don't mean all that much anymore. Because you will have found what you are looking for from the very beginning. That which is everlasting. I wish you much luck on your journey. If you have any questions or thoughts, please feel free to comment down below or schedule a one-on-one with me so we can clear away any illusions that you may be struggling with. Much peace and many blessings.